Welcome, history lovers, to a fascinating journey into the heart of ancient Egypt. Today, we'll unearth the story of one of the most enigmatic and powerful figures to ever rule the Nile. Hatshepsut. Imagine a patriarchal system where the ideal pharaoh was always a man. Now, imagine a woman who not only defied that convention, but ascended the throne and ruled as a full-fledged pharaoh, ushering in an era of unprecedented prosperity. How did she do it? What were her challenges and achievements? Get ready to discover the incredible story of Hatshepsut, the pharaoh who rewrote the rules of power. Before we dive in, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single episode that uncovers history's most fascinating stories. And what about you? Leave a comment below with the historical figures you're most curious about. Our story begins with Hatshepsut's origins. She was the daughter of King Thutmose I and the great royal wife Ahmose. And therein lies a fundamental key to her future. Ahmose, her mother, brought essential dynastic legitimacy. Why? Because she was connected to the prestigious Ahmose lineage, the family that had expelled the Hyksos and reunified Egypt. This was crucial as her father, Thutmose I, was not a direct descendant of a royal branch. In fact, Thutmose I ascended the throne after the death of Amenhotep I without direct issue. And his marriage to Ahmose consolidated his own legitimacy. From a young age, Thutmose I showed an unusual predilection for Hatshepsut. Unlike what was common for a royal girl, he gave her an education similar to that of a prince. She was educated alongside her male siblings by trusted figures of her father, such as Ahmose Pen-Nedjbet. Thutmose I recognized her early curiosity and great capacity for learning, initiating her into all branches of government knowledge, with the possible intention of keeping her very close to the front line of power, or even putting her in charge of the state. This predilection wasn't limited to education. Thutmose I carried out public acts to link Hatshepsut's figure to the throne. In Thebes, for example, there was a great celebration with the priests of Ammonius where the goal was to subordinate his other three sons, born of a secondary wife, Mut-Neferet, who were not to his liking and were considered less capable or of weakened health. He even took her to the Delta and to Heliopolis to introduce her to high-ranking officials and the sun god, reinforcing her legitimacy. Her father's intention to associate her with power was clear. In time, Hatshepsut married her half-brother, Thutmose II, who was the son of Thutmose I and a secondary wife, Mut-Neferet. This marriage made her the great royal wife, a position of enormous public, political, and religious prestige. Some historians interpret this as a clever dynastic strategy by Thutmose I, seeking to legitimize her for future regencies. The coronation of Thutmose II probably occurred before the death of Thutmose I, which implied a period of co-regency. During the short reign of Thutmose II, Hatshepsut was elevated even further, obtaining the prestigious position of goddess wife of Ammonius. This was the highest female honor after the queen. And over time it became a very political and important title, conferring even more prestige and legitimacy upon her. Unfortunately, the reign of Thutmose II was short. He died while his son and heir, Thutmose III, was still a small child, about 2 years old. The sources tell us that Thutmose II went to heaven and joined the gods. This happened after only 3 years on the throne. Given Thutmose III's minority, and as the great royal wife and goddess wife of Ammonius, Hatshepsut assumed the regency, de facto, controlling state affairs. The biography of Enini, an important tomb builder of the era, narrates her accession as regent for the young Thutmose III. This was the turning point. Hatshepsut would not only care for the boy king, but in her mind, and with the preparation she had received, she was destined for something much greater. After approximately 7 years of regency, in an act that was described as unusual and which displaced the boy king from his position, Hatshepsut altered her status and crowned herself as Pharaoh of Egypt. This was a bold and unprecedented move, which catapulted her from regent to absolute sovereign, in a system that was not designed for a woman in power. Aware of the challenge of her gender on the throne, Hatshepsut implemented sophisticated strategies to justify and consolidate her reign. Adoption of male attributes and royal titulary. To legitimize her position as pharaoh, Hatshepsut was depicted in the typical masculine attire and accessories of a pharaoh: the crown, the short kilt, and the iconic false beard, which was a divine attribute. Although the inscriptions often acknowledged her female gender, she adopted the 5 royal names, including the coronation name Motker, the divine birth, Theogamy. Perhaps the most powerful strategy was the claim to be the divine daughter of the god Ammonius. On the walls of her mortuary temple, Jizru detailed accounts of her conception are narrated, where Ammonius took the form of Thutmose I to conceive her with her mother Ahmose. This myth was crucial for justifying her right to the throne, equating her with the divine origins of other pharaohs, designation by her father, and the oracle. Hatshepsut claimed that her father, Thutmose I, had designated her as the future king and co-regent. Furthermore, she claimed to have been chosen to rule Egypt by the oracle of the god Ammonius. Support from the clergy of Ammonius. She had the active support of the powerful clergy of Ammonius in Thebes, which was fundamental to her rise. She appointed her trusted man, Hatshepsut, to key political, administrative, and religious positions, such as chief of the priests of Upper and Lower Egypt and high priest of Ammonius, giving him control over the oracle and therefore the legitimacy for her ascension. Co-regency with Thutmose III. She established herself as co-regent with her stepson Thutmose III. She kept him visible in many joint representations, although she was often mentioned first or depicted in the foreground, showing her predominance. Sources describe the relationship between Hatshepsut and Thutmose III during this period as normal. Despite her cunning and success, Hatshepsut faced significant challenges. Her gender in a patriarchal system. The greatest challenge was, without a doubt, the fact of being a woman in a male-dominated system, where the ideal pharaoh was a man. She had to overcome this convention to access and legitimize herself on the throne. Legitimizing her access to the throne. Her ascension, which involved the displacement of the boy king Thutmose III, was an unusual act that could be interpreted as a usurpation. Although her mother Ahmose had great prestige, the Thutmose family itself, including her father, was seen by some as usurpers of the throne of Horus, which demanded constant legitimation. The prolongation of the co-regency with Thutmose III, which lasted nearly 20 years, could also be interpreted as a usurpation. The subsequent persecution of her memory. The most dramatic challenge occurred after her death. Thutmose III systematically attempted to erase Hatshepsut's memory from official history. This included the destruction of statues and the erasure of her name from monuments. While it was once believed to be personal revenge, current research suggests it occurred some 20 years after her death. The main reason is attributed to Thutmose III's need to consolidate his own power, restore the traditional male order to the throne, and prevent precedents of strong female pharaohs. Despite this, the persecution was not total, and her memory persisted. Despite the challenges, Hatshepsut's reign, approximately 1479 to 1458 BC, is considered one of the most prosperous and peaceful in the history of Egypt. A prosperous and peaceful reign. She focused on trade and construction, and her policies, although presented as new because she was a woman, didn't really represent a novelty. Political and administrative skill. In addition to her legitimizing strategies already mentioned, she surrounded herself with loyal officials, men like Senenmut, her steward and tutor to her daughter Neferur, accumulated numerous titles and played a crucial role. The appointment of Hatshepsut as vizier and high priest of Ammonius consolidated unbreakable religious and administrative support. Successful commercial expeditions. She led the famous commercial expedition to the land of Punt. The Egyptian ships returned loaded with treasures and exotic products, fragrant woods, myrrh resin, ebony, ivory, green gold, incense, and panther skins. This expedition, although not unique, was unprecedented in its scale and the detail of its representation in her temple. Expeditions were also carried out to Sinai and tribute was collected in Syria-Palestine. Ambitious building program. Hatshepsut carried out an extensive building program, constructing temples, chapels, and reliefs throughout the country. Her majestic mortuary temple in Deir el-Bahari, known as Djeser Djeseru, was designed to tell the story of her life and to surpass others in elegance and grandeur. This temple was a key piece in legitimizing her power. She also built the Red Chapel and 2 pairs of obelisks at Karnak, manifesting her reign through art. She is credited with the creation of the royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings, to house descendants in a single location, breaking from previous tradition. In addition, she restored temples that were in a deplorable state, presenting herself as a restorer of order, artistic and architectural innovation. Her reign marked a beginning in sculptural colossalism and a naturalism in statues that was previously attributed only to Thutmose III. Her temple at Deir el-Bahari was an unprecedented architectural innovation, laying the groundwork for future constructions in Thebes. Maintenance of the army. Although her reign is considered pacifist, there is evidence of military actions in Nubia, and she kept the army at its peak performance. In fact, Thutmose III inherited a well-organized and equipped army, which was crucial for his own military campaigns. Despite Thutmose III's attempts to erase her from history, Hatshepsut is today recognized as one of the most effective and visionary rulers of ancient Egypt. She stands out for her impressive architectural and commercial achievements, and her incredible political skill in consolidating power in a male-dominated system. Her figure is seen as a role model for women. The rediscovery of her mummy in 2007 has allowed for an even greater reassessment of her place in history. Hatshepsut, the daughter of Thutmose I and Ahmose, the great royal wife and goddess wife of Ammonius, the regent, and finally, the pharaoh. Her story is a testament to cunning, determination, and an unbreakable will to transcend the barriers of her time. She left us an imposing legacy that still amazes us today. Her reign proves that leadership knows no gender, and that history, despite attempts to erase it, always finds its way to be told. We hope you enjoyed this journey through the life of Hatshepsut. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with other history lovers. See you in the next video.